Ray, do you mind if I hand the baton back to you to let everybody know about the person we are
Yes, it's my pleasure to have provided the resume for our candidate for town engineer. His name is Keith Mortimer, and he is a New York State licensed professional engineer with over 30 years of experience in the local area in a broad in a broad category of functions. He started his career in traffic engineering, but and working for several local civil engineering consulting firms, and has worked as a senior project manager for Highland Hospital, and more recently works as a manager of construction and real estate development for another local firm. Mr. Mortimer was very impressive during his interviews. We also, to make sure that it was a good fit, we connected him with our prior town engineer so that they could compare notes for an honest assessment of what it's like to work for the town of Webster. And he also attended facility tours of the highway department and the sewer department so that he could get a good sense of what our ongoing projects and such are.
Yeah, and I gotta say, earlier you said that when Mary Harrington, our last town engineer, her family moved, and that was at the end of July. And, Mary was great. She worked with us for 2 or 3 months back in May, June, July last year to help, if you want to call it, in getting ready to hand the baton off to the new town engineer. We were surprised at just how challenging of a search that was. And one of the things that I think needs to be said before we do this resolution is that the committee that interviewed candidates, 3 of them are in this room tonight. Brayden, Paul, no, only 2 of us?
Well, yeah, there's 5 on the committee and only 2 are here tonight.
Okay. We had a chance a couple times along the line to have hired somebody, but one of the beauties of our structure of having a 5-person committee do these interviews, and these are robust interviews, these are an hour and a half. There are 30 questions that are covered at this candidate. They're almost designed to cause stress to the candidate because these are our top positions at the organization. These are our leaders. And if they can't handle the stress of an interview, how are they going to operate as the leader of the town and for the citizens that we're trying to service? We have made out very well over the last 4+ years using this philosophy, and we've hired some great town department heads. We made a conscious decision along the way in October, and I think again in January, to not tender offers to candidates that we had interviewed. And it was a 5-person, really combined agreement. We just didn't want to hire somebody that we didn't feel was going to do an excellent job. And that's tough because when we don't have a town engineer, there's work that needs to be done. And it falls on people like Pat Stevens, our highway superintendent. It falls on people like Josh Artuso. And it gets outsourced to MRB. So it's very easy for an organization to make a feel-good hire because, we got to get somebody in the seat because we got to have work to do. But in my experience, when you make that feel-good hire, 3 to 6 months after it, you really regret that decision. Now with that being said, when Mr. Mortimer came in for his interview, and I know I had blocked off up to 90 minutes for it, that interview went on for 2.5 hours. And when he left, we all looked at each other and said, am I missing something here? I mean, this guy, there's no way he could have answered some of those questions. He couldn't have gotten a glimpse into our culture and what we're trying to achieve. I was just so impressed by it. But, once again, our strategy and philosophy is to not make emotional decisions, it's to make good decisions based on facts. So we didn't rush to judgment and go to make a hiring offer. We went through our due diligence, had him go and see the facilities that he would be overseeing and meet the facility managers, had him talk to our past town engineer. Brayden, you can continue to do your due diligence, reference, request, and ask some pretty tough questions to make sure that we weren't just seeing a shiny object. And everything just continued to play out well. Hiring is a crapshoot. Anybody in this room or anybody watching this thing, if you're an owner or a manager who hires, you know exactly what I'm saying. You can do your best homework, and still you don't know what you get until the person's in the position and operating for 3 or 4 weeks, or 3 or 4 months, I should say. But we really make a conscious effort at the town of Webster, at least the last 4 years, to really try to make sure we don't strike out on our department heads. You make the right decision on hiring department heads. And really, and I've said this and it gets some people upset, it doesn't matter who's sitting on this dais as the elected official. Because for the citizens of this town, the day-to-day operations of this town are run by the department heads. And it really doesn't matter at that point who is sitting on this dais as the elected official. And I know that isn't something popular to say as a politician, but I don't think my career is going to end up being a politician. I like good organizational structure. I like efficiencies. We've done a good job at it. We have ways to go. You know, we're not perfect. I feel good about this process, and I feel good about what we found in Keith Mortimer. So, I'll get off my soapbox. Any other questions or comments?
I think that the hiring practice and interviewing practice that we incorporated under your leadership has borne some very good fruit. And the process in which we've gone about the hiring with a team of people interviewing is typically, I have found that a lot of companies have gone to that rather than making a political decision. My buddy said, you know, this guy's a good guy and doing that. It's proven throughout the years not to be the proper way of hiring people. It's better to take your time, have a team, interview. Everybody has different questions, and we'll get different impressions based upon the answers to the questions. One of the key things that I'm glad that you did was to have Mary Harrington getting involved in this and having discussions with him, because I have an amazing amount of respect for her.
Does she hold back on her opinion?
Oh, she does not. And that's what I love about Mary.
Yeah.
She's very direct.
Yeah.
And you know, I mean, you really need that.
Yeah.
Right? Unvarnished opinion based upon conversations.
I just want to say, thank you, John, for saying under my leadership, but the fact of the matter is, we hired Brayden in September, I think, of 2020. I already had conceptually that I didn't like the way maybe heretofore the town hired leaders, the department heads. But I really didn't quite know how to go about it. He's the one that took, quickly you took a raw concept that I had, and he, not to say he kind of chuckled at it, he said, let me show you how we can do this. The guy didn't fall off the turnip truck yesterday in HR. And so I got to give a lot of credit to Brayden, because he really kind of perfected it. And I remember the first one that we did, and I looked at the questions, and I was like, wow, you know, that's an interesting, and the way he goes about getting the questions, you know, from different sources. And that there's a purpose to each of those 25 to 30 questions. I'm going on and on, you know what?
And to your point, as far as setting this up and putting it, the candidate in a stressful position, one of my jobs, I interviewed, there was 8 people in the room, and everybody had different questions. So It's a little stressful, yes.
Did you get the job?
Well,
So Brayton wasn't there.
without further ado, I would like to make a motion to appoint Keith Mortimer as the town engineer for the town of Webster.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn? Aye. Councilwoman Wright? Aye.
Brayden, Paul, one last question. Is tentative first day?
May 6th.
Okay.
As a professional, he needs to give proper notice to his employer. We wouldn't want to hire somebody that wouldn't give proper notice.
No, it says a lot about somebody, the way they leave an organization. I go back to what Mary did. She let us know 3 months in advance. I know that was very hard for her, but it was the right thing, it was a professional thing. And not for nothing, as we all know, we have somebody else who showed the professional way to do things. And that Dolly McGuire announced 2-3 months in advance of her retirement. And that is so valuable for us to be able to start looking for a successor.